Have you ever been in a really long conversation with an AI, maybe ChatGPT, and you ask it to remember something from the very beginning, and it just can't? It's like it has a terrible memory. You're talking, and suddenly the earlier parts of the conversation just seem to vanish. It's incredibly frustrating, right? You might think the AI is just being difficult, but the truth is much simpler. It's not that it doesn't want to remember. It's that it physically can't. Think of it like this. The AI's memory is like a small delivery truck. It has a limited amount of space. This space has a name. It's called the context window. Today, in episode 33, we're going to dive deep into what this context window is, why it causes the AI to forget things, and how it's all just a matter of packing and capacity limits. Let's get into it. Imagine you have a small truck, and this truck is labeled context window. This truck represents the AI's short-term memory. Everything you say to the AI and everything it says back to you has to be loaded onto this truck. Now, this truck isn't infinitely large. It has a very specific fixed capacity. Let's say our truck has a capacity of 4K tokens. What's a token? Well, in the world of AI, a token is a piece of a word. A simple word like the might be one token, while a more complex word like logistics might be broken into 2 or 3 tokens, like lo-gis-ticks double quotes. So every word you type, every sentence you form, gets broken down into these little token cargo units and loaded onto the truck. As you start your conversation, the first few things you say are loaded on. The AI's response is also loaded on. Everything fits perfectly. The truck drives along, carrying the entire context of your chat. But what happens when you keep talking? You keep adding more information, more questions, more details. Each new piece of information is a new set of token cargo that needs to be loaded onto the truck. The problem is, our truck has a fixed capacity. It can only hold 4,000 tokens at once. So, as you load new cargo onto the front of the truck, something has to make space. The truck has to get rid of the oldest cargo. The very first things you talked about, the initial context you set up, start getting pushed out the back of the truck bed and fall onto the road, left behind. This is exactly what happens in a long conversation with an AI. You continuously loading new token cargo, your recent messages, and the AI has no choice but to push the old cargo, the beginning of your conversation, off the back to make room. The AI can only see what's currently on the truck. It has no memory of the cargo that fell off. So when you ask, "Hey, remember that thing we discussed an hour ago?" The AI looks at its truck, sees that the information isn't there, and says, "I'm sorry, I don't recall that. It's not being forgetful on purpose." The information is literally gone from its active memory. This continuous cycle of loading new information and dropping old information is why long, detailed projects that require remembering many details from the start can become so challenging for these models. The old cargo, the crucial early instructions, just gets pushed out. So let's get to the core insight here. Why can't the AI just remember more? Why can't it just get a bigger truck? To understand this, we need to look at the very structure of these AI models. Imagine we take a cross-section of our claymation truck. You'd see that it has a fixed internal space. There's a solid, unmoving wall at the back. It's not a design flaw or something that can be easily stretched. This context window is a fundamental architectural choice made when the AI model was built. It's a physical limitation, hard-coded into its very being. When a new piece of information, let's call it a glowing, shiny new token, tries to enter the truck, it forces an old, fading token out. There is no other option. The space is finite. This is a critical point to understand because it reframes the problem. The AI isn't having an attitude problem or being deliberately unhelpful. It's operating under a strict physical limitation, much like a computer's RAM. Your computer can only run so many programs at once before it slows down or crashes because its RAM is full. The AI's context window is similar. It's a computational resource, and a very expensive one at that. Expanding the context window, or giving the AI a bigger truck, requires an enormous amount of computing power, both for training the model and for running it. While newer models are coming out with larger context windows, bigger trucks, like 16K, 32K, or even over 100K tokens, they still have a fixed limit. You can have a much longer conversation before it starts forgetting, but eventually you will hit that wall. The principle remains the same. It's a physical limitation, not a behavioral one. So if the truck will always have a limited size, even if that size is getting bigger, Are we just stuck with this problem forever? Will AI always be doomed to have short-term memory? Well, maybe not. What if we could give the AI a different kind of memory? Think about it this way. What if, next to our small, fast delivery truck, we could build an external warehouse? Imagine our claymation hero, Lucas, sketching out a blueprint. He's designing a system where the truck can quickly drop off older, but still important, cargo at a nearby warehouse for long-term storage. Then, when the AI needs to remember something from the distant past, it doesn't have to search a cluttered truck. It can send a request to the warehouse, retrieve the specific information it needs, and load it back onto the truck temporarily to answer your question. Could we give it an external warehouse like that? This idea, often called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG, is one of the most exciting frontiers in AI right now. It has a way to give a form of long-term memory without having to build an impractically massive truck. We're on the verge of creating systems that can remember vast amounts of information, combining the speed of the context window with the capacity of an external knowledge base. In our next episode, we're going to explore exactly how this works and what it means for the future of AI. It's going to be a game changer. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.